Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast, where we talk about everything and anything franchising. Today, once again, I'm at the Sushi Sushi headquarters and company store downstairs here in Mount Waverley in Melbourne. I'm joined by CEO Stephen Anders. How are you going, Stephen?
I'm fantastic, Glenn. Great to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us and allowing us to film in your store and getting in the way of your team and all that sort of stuff there.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's a great environment. So we've had a great couple of days.
Yeah, terrific.
So this one we're going to talk in detail and about yourself, actually. This one's a franchise business leader podcast, you being the CEO and leader of the business. So I think our take on this, and like I mentioned to you in off-camera talk, is that my belief is that people who are investing in a franchise or looking to invest in a franchise really want to know what the leaders are, who the leaders are, and their story.
Sure.
So that's what we want to talk about today. So let's kick in at the start, hey? So where did it all begin for you in business? Where did you start, out of school and uni or something? What did you move into?
I went to university, completed a couple of degrees focusing in business and IT and accounting, moved into professional services, worked with Arthur Andersen, corporate finance, worked across multiple markets, worked in Asia, worked in the US, worked across the Australian market, and worked on some quite significant projects too. Like the sale of the Crown Casino to Kerry Packer.
And that's no small deal, obviously.
No, a massive deal. And when the Commonwealth Bank acquired Colonial, it's a multi-billion-dollar deal as well. So a lot of significant transactions across multiple markets, and really developing a global view around business.
That's it. So you've beautifully summarised the whole conversation for us in a really short space of time. So with your uni, so was you here in Melbourne? Did you start off with you a Melbourne boy?
No, in Adelaide. I grew up in Adelaide. Loved growing up in Adelaide, but obviously
everyone loves Adelaide. Everyone who visits Adelaide loves Adelaide.
Adelaide's fantastic. But I met my then wife as she was finishing university. She got a job in Melbourne, so we moved to Melbourne as a couple in 1998, and now we've got three children. A 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 15-year-old.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So it all moves past, but there's lots of action in between then. So at uni, so you said you did information systems and accounting. Is that right? Is that the degree you did?
Yeah, sort of business, economics, IT, and accounting. So, a number of good business-related disciplines that have held me in good stead since.
I think, and when we were talking off camera, it's something I've noted because we speak to a lot of CEOs and leaders of franchise businesses. Sure. This common thread is this financial rigour, I think there. So can you talk me through, so were you a numbers kid? Were you into all that sort of stuff there? Because I'm trying to, what are the traits that you start to pick through of these people that they're going to be really, because financial literacy seems to be the thread that runs through most leaders of successful organisations.
Look, I think that's right. Financial literacy is important, but I think to be an effective business leader, I think about three concentric circles. One is strategy. You need a strong strategic orientation. Financial literacy and discipline is important, and the third element is really people and culture. And if you can balance those three elements, and you can find the common space between those three concentric circles, that's really powerful. That's how you can unlock value and really help a business accelerate.
And I can imagine all the marketers in the world, including myself, what about marketing? I say at the same time. And,
within that simplified...
These are broader.
It is. Within that simplified model, I would include brand and marketing within the context of strategy.
Yeah, okay. So information systems and finance and everything there, what was the move from there? So 3-year degree?
It was a 3-year degree in sort of business information systems, then went on to do 2 more years to round out the accounting qualification, sort of working part-time at Arthur Andersen, then moved into a full-time role at Arthur Andersen to gain my professional year qualification, become a chartered accountant.
So you need that year to...
Yeah, to be
it's
a
like
fully fledged...
Yeah,
it's like professional development to become a fully fledged chartered accountant at that point. Was there for a few more years before moving into the corporate world.
So I imagine you had, when you were at uni and you got a bit of part-time there, you had visions of what corporate life was going to be like, especially in big consulting firms. Was the reality of being in Arthur Andersen, was it what you made it out to be before you'd actually been involved in those big corporate consulting environments?
I had a good sense of what it was going to be like, because in my first degree I had a couple of industry placements. So I worked at Fording, the pharmaceutical company, and also SGIC, the South Australian-based insurer. So I had a good sense of what business was going to be like. I think in moving into Arthur Andersen, that consulting environment, I probably underestimated how rapid the learning and development is, particularly in that consulting environment, particularly in that M&A space, and also underestimated my ability to develop a global view by working across markets as early as I did.
So what were your first moves? What were your main accounts that you were working on? So is it the terminology there that you're a junior or a new graduate, or how does that work as you run through businesses like that?
Well, you move into as a consultant, and you'll move to senior consultant, manager, associate director level. And so, after 7 or so years at Arthur Andersen, I was at that associate director, on the verge of being made a director. And it really, at that point, you need to decide, are you going to lock in and sort of push forward to partnership?
Yeah, do you become a lifer?
Become a lifer, or do you sort of go elsewhere?
You see that in law firms a bit, don't you, as well, 100%. That sort of thing? Yeah,
100%. And, I had an ex-Arthur Andersen colleague who was working at Foster's Group at the time, who I had a lot of admiration for. We worked closely together over the years, and got the phone call, and he said, you should come and check out the Foster's Group. And, at the time, Foster's was, Australia's, multi-beverage behemoth, sponsoring a number of Grand Prix around the world. It was a great organisation.
You would have got some good tickets there, some fringe benefits and some perks for sure.
Absolutely. But it was an exciting place too. They were looking to grow aggressively. So, my M&A skill set and background played nicely to their growth agenda. So it was a good fit, and it was a
started on your way there.
Yeah.
So what year are we talking there? So if you're out of uni, 5 years in uni all up?
It was late 90s.
Late 90s, yep.
Yeah. 90, 98, 99.
I know it's a stretch back. It's hard.
It's a while ago
I think
now.
about mine as well. I was trying to think, what year was that?
Unfortunately,
what year did I get married?
Now.
I'm looking for anchors and lines in the sand.
So late 90s. And, sort of lined up with the Asian currency crisis, and gave me a number of opportunities to work on some pretty interesting projects with Arthur Andersen.
So what were the main ones that you started with the Foster's Group? What were the projects and everything you worked on? Then what was your role there to start with, and did that change while you were there?
Yeah, it did. I started off as a strategy manager within the Asia Pacific M&A team. Worked on bolt-on acquisitions in the region. Worked through to become the global strategy manager for Beringer Blass.
And what's that? What brand? What is that?
Well, that was one iteration of the Foster's Wine division, which today is known as Treasury Wine Group.
Okay.
Through that process, worked on the acquisition of South Corp. So there were some pretty significant, transactions and sort of strategy projects within that role. But then moved on to work across the broader wine business and also through the beer business as well. In marketing roles, I was the international brand manager for Wolf Blass. I've had supply chain roles, finance roles. I've been the finance director for the Australian New Zealand wine business as well. So there are a whole range of cross-functional roles within that broader Foster's Group.
With your very much financial background, and you're there, how does the process go from the financial roles to international brand marketing? How does that work within those businesses? Because there's obviously a lot of internal movement within those businesses.
Well, I think
people moving through and getting exposure.
Well, that's right. I think my training and my initial background was very much in that finance accounting space. A lot of my time, the first part of my Foster's career, really was more in the strategy space than the finance space. And so just by the very nature of that, you're getting
it's
more...
a bridge to it, isn't it? It's a bridge to marketing.
It's more cross-functional exposure. And so, but there's no doubt, it's when you're an organisation like that, it's the relationships you have with people that then open doors and then create pathways. So,
So does someone have a project going on that they're working on and they can bring people across teams and everything? Is that how it works?
That's right. But, I also had a very close working relationship with Jamie Odell, who was, globally running the wine business. And he created an opportunity for me to move into marketing and sort of work on the Wolf Blass brand.
So you mentioned mergers and acquisitions. I'm thinking at that level of that type of business, where do those opportunities come from? So, for example, who's making approaches to who? Is it like people are identifying certain niches and certain brands within niches. Hey, we want to get into that niche. And how do they? Have you got any exposure to how those approaches happen, and how do these mergers and acquisitions normally come together?
Well, they happen in a multitude of ways. I mean, it's either in some cases it can be inbound interest coming in on a bilateral basis, or outbound interest. But equally, you might pull in a top tier consulting firm and scan the global wine,
find
business,
opportunities and stuff.
Do the Harvey Ball analysis around attractiveness and doability and cost, etc. To come up with a short list of acquisition targets, and then go and knock on the door. And really, that's what we did.
Must be a really interesting process, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, and you get to work with some amazingly capable people in those top tier consulting firms. And I guess that's also been part of my personal learning and development. I've worked with a lot of consultants out of Bain or BCG or McKinsey, either within the Foster's Group or servicing the Foster's Group.
You learn a heap from them as well.
Just the quality of thinking and the strategic frameworks and the clarity of thought and, really do hold you in good stead. And I think for me, my ability to, move into a role such as this has been enhanced by, what's been just a continuous learning and development journey that I've been on. I've constantly found myself in situations where I'm being challenged, either culturally by working in a new market, or within a challenging context around, helping an organisation respond to the Asian currency crisis, or helping Foster's Group work on a marquee acquisition, and working with some amazingly capable people through those processes or those projects. And so, it's been a fairly intense but rewarding 20-year L&D project.
So you mentioned Asian currency crisis.
Yeah.
So, and you, I think in our pre-chat you were saying you started to do quite a bit of time overseas there. Yeah. Because at some point sushi comes into it. So
it does.
So where does that start again? And you start to get your taste and exposure to sushi in that marketplace and understand more about it.
Yeah, well, I think, on the back of the Asian currency crisis, I then had projects in Thailand and then also Japan. So that was my first trip to Japan in the late 90s. And
it's a great place. It was great. I think I've been once for one day on a stopover.
Yeah, fantastic.
I haven't been back yet, but it's amazing.
Yeah, and the sophistication of that society, how well organised it's run, how clean, how safe, the quality of the food. It really is, a bit of a shining light around, what metropolitan life probably should look like in a lot of countries around the world. What's possible,
isn't it? What it could be like.
Possible,
community, family, everything around that, isn't it?
Well, and just culturally, the idea of respect is really powerful in that.
And it seems to have held firm still, doesn't it?
Absolutely
in
has.
the face of...
It absolutely has. It absolutely has. So there's a lot that a lot of cultures and countries around the world could learn from Japan. So I was really impressed with during my time there.
Yep.
And then, yes, you're right. That was where my intense interest in and fascination and fondness with Japanese cuisine started.
So amongst all that, you have a family going on there, because if you, as you said, you got was it a 17, 19 and a 21-year-old?
21, 19 and 15 now.
That's it. That's the one. So while you're traveling the world...
They were 6, 4
I was going to say.
And sort of 2.
While you're doing all that stuff, that's a whole different thing than having
100%.
Teenagers and everything going in there. So how did family life... How did they adapt? And, was your wife moving her career and all that sort of... How was that all working?
We've been extremely lucky. My wife has a very active, professional career in her own right. She's a lawyer and has a very a significant job.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate that I have a very forgiving and flexible and supportive mother-in-law.
Yes, you need that. Taking them away from them and everything.
It's really important to help balance sort of 2 careers and family life. Some cases, and we're lucky, a little bit of external help, certainly made all of that work.
Yep.
But it's you have to work to find quality time with the kids. It's important.
So did they move around as well? Did you move into different countries, or was it you in and out all the time?
Yeah, sort of fly in, fly out. And that can be fairly demanding at times.
Very.
I mean, I spent the better part of 6 months working in Thailand on a fly in, fly out basis. So I spent 3 or 4 weeks of the month in Bangkok and fly back to Melbourne for a week. So, a lot of time in Napa in the US and for extended periods of time.
And that's not in the way that everyone else who wants to go to Napa, you're literally
No,
there
it's
working.
work. Yeah,
Because
it's
when you say
work.
I'm sure people watching this
No,
go,
it
poor
wasn't-
thing, a lot of time in Napa.
No,
What a terrible.
unfortunately, it wasn't a cellar door tour. It's a lot of hours in an
Yeah,
office and
I
a lot of
bet.
spreadsheets and PowerPoints.
Yeah.
No, so a
So
bit
I know
different.
no business travel. It's like it's not as glamorous as it
Yeah, that's
might make
right.
out, is it?
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. So yes, so certainly needed some external support to make that work.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it's a bit of a journey, and I think there are points in time where you're probably not able to spend as much time with the family as you would like
Yeah.
if you're bouncing overseas. But then you need to be cognizant that, well, once that project's finished, I then need to make sure that I'm working in a way where I am around more and am spending more time with the children, because you talk about legacy in life. The relationship you have with your children is everything, really.
That's it. Yeah, that's the legacy, isn't it?
Correct.
Isn't it? So, okay, so that's with the Foster's Group to a certain point. So what are we talking now? 2016, 2017?
Yeah, 2016. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
And then moved into API Priceline.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really a move out of FMCG, move into retail, move into franchising.
Yeah.
Spent a couple of years at Priceline, really professional, well-run organisation. There's a couple of strategic challenges with Priceline in terms of the impact that Chemist Warehouse, even back then, was having in the market, the impact that the Meccas and Sephoras are having in the market. But despite all of that, it's still a large, well-run organisation.
So what were your impressions coming from basically such diverse or such broad experience in beverage and moving to that sort of product and to franchising? You wouldn't have had much exposure at all to franchising prior to that. What are your memories of, I know it's hard to get a snapshot in time, but what were your memories and exposure and thoughts on the business model of franchising at that time?
Well, I think intimacy with franchise partners is really the key learning. Went from a large corporate environment to when you're dealing with a franchise partner, it can be a single store environment, and so you're much more intimately involved with the
Their success
daily
and failure.
trading
Yeah.
impacts
Yeah.
in that single store environment, and so it's a completely different range of issues, but being able to understand, empathise, and sort of get down to that single store setting and understanding the commercial issues in that single store setting is critical.
So what was your main functions at Priceline? What were you really going into there then?
Well, I was in the finance team, so I was group financial controller, but also worked closely with the CEO across a couple of the M&A projects.
Yep.
Namely the Clear Skincare acquisition was the main project that I worked on.
So
in that environment.
describe what's Clear Skin again?
That's cosmetic injectables and laser.
Okay, and that's at that time, and now we look at what that is now.
Is booming.
Yeah.
And has continued to grow rapidly. So that's an extremely high growth, very profitable business.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of years sort of through there, was it? And what was your feeling? Because imagine it's almost a career junction, isn't it? What direction are you going? You're going to move more back to, you're going to go back to beverage, or are you going down that franchising path? And clearly you've gone down the franchising path, but what was the thinking?
Well, the original rationale for moving into API and Priceline was to spend some more time in that finance space, in that technical finance space, because my aspiration, was to become an ASX listed CFO.
Yep. Okay.
And you talk about that finance pedigree. I had that earlier on in my career, but then I spent
And
a
you
lot
lost
of
a
time.
bit of touch with it, did you?
Well, I did. I spent a lot
Yeah.
of time in strategy or supply chain or marketing. And so I just felt that spending a bit of time in that listed environment, in that more technical space, would have been a nice way to brush up the skill set to then push forward into becoming an ASX
The next
CFO.
opportunity that comes up. Yeah.
That's right.
So did you have targets? Were you thinking I'd like to be of that one, or is that not how that works?
No, it was more at that stage. It was more broadly thinking about that
Yep.
ASX CFO pathway. But then I got approached by Sushi Sushi, and I was intrigued when I was approached. It's a brand that has a 25-year history and relationship in the Australian market. It's got a really strong consumer tailwind. At that point, it was effectively a founder-led organisation. And I wasn't quite ready to leave API at that point. I was in the middle of the Clear skincare deal. I still had a little bit more work to close out from a price line perspective. So I said no at that point. Anyway, Sushi Sushi came back a year later, and that was really a couple of months before private equity were going to acquire the business. So Odyssey Private Equity were acquiring the business. And at that point, I felt, you know what? Yeah, it's time. Time to move into a different setting. I met the key principals at Odyssey Private Equity, Paul Riady and George Penklis, and I was really impressed by the opportunity to move into Sushi Sushi with PE backing, which brings with it a scaling mindset, which brings with it a high level of governance and compliance, and I felt that I had a lot to offer on that journey.
I think, what's your take on working with founders? I know there's a number of execs hesitate on getting too involved with founder, thinking they can be, I don't know, dogmatic, inflexible, all that sort of stuff. What was your first impressions to say? So was it working directly with a founder who can sometimes, hey, it's my little baby, that can be a bit difficult to work with? What are your thinkings around that broadly? Not necessarily around this person in particular, but that broadly.
Oh, look, I think it's hard to generalise. It depends. It depends on the individual. For me, looking at the Sushi Sushi opportunity on the second occasion, it was clear that there was going to be the ability to almost optimise every vertical in the business, and take all of the learnings I developed over 20 years at the large end of town, and then deploy that into this setting, which had great DNA and great context, but needed that managerial and process and capability build out to help the business scale up and accelerate.
So we're talking 2019, is that right?
We are talking 2019. Unfortunately, the timing wasn't great.
No, I was going to say, for all of us.
Yeah,
for all of us.
Right.
Everyone we spoke to yesterday goes, well, in 2020, that's every podcast we do is like that.
Yeah,
it's almost like I don't know, it's a lost couple of years.
It is a lost couple of years, yeah.
So, and now I lost my train of thought as I said that. I made a joke. I did it, not you. Okay, so you come on board there. So what were your first impressions, and how did you prioritise what to attack first when you came on board, or was the direction very much set already by private equity who'd acquired the business?
Look, I think a lot of the focus was transitioning ownership, closing the transaction out effectively,
because they take several months.
Yes, and then we sort of launched into budget one under new ownership, and just started to get a little bit of traction around that first budget when COVID hit, and that really sort of derailed the whole exercise. And then it became it was a process of understanding, well, how does a retail bricks and mortar business trade through COVID? We got to the point where fortunately probably 70% of our network could trade through most of COVID, and so that combined with JobKeeper, we had a supportive board. The bank was supportive at the time. We were fine, and we could sort of effectively trade through that period.
Yeah.
But it's a challenging time, right? I'd sort of liken the experience to being a tech startup. We started to talk about cash burn and on a daily basis looking at which stores should trade and which shouldn't. And so, it required a lot of discipline to make sure you could effectively step through that time. And then sort of jump out of COVID in the best possible shape. We use that time to build some capability in a couple of areas, like implement a new ERP system and deploy some other technology. ERP, the enterprise resource planning tool, so NetSuite.
Yep.
So we deployed NetSuite during that time, and then worked on some other capability building through COVID, so that we could bounce out of COVID in the best possible shape.
Just before on COVID there, so you were probably a little different to a bunch of brands. What was your percentage of company-owned stores to franchise stores at that stage?
We've been pretty consistent all the way through. We're franchise-led, so 60% of our network is franchised. So, but then coming out of COVID, we made some changes in the business. I was appointed CEO in 2022.
Yep.
And at that point, we then had a reset around our strategy, and also a reset around our values. And
what was the need for that? Was there a identified need for it, or was it just a good opportune spot, like a line in the sand out of COVID, and here we go?
Yeah, I think during COVID, we experimented with some different aspects of the business model. Sort of a wholesale operation and some other elements that weren't really that sustainable or that profitable. And so coming out of COVID, it was really the opportunity to reset the strategy, get back to the core DNA of this business, and the core and how Sushi can grow and create value for franchisees and for the company at large.
Yeah.
And so we reset around a number of areas. One was committing to being a technology-driven franchise system. The other was building customer connectivity, and that's the digital transformation.
Yep. Also loyalty programs.
It is, that's right. The other is being an efficient multi-format retailer and focusing specifically on driving excellence in store operations and also expanding our store formats. So we've added a couple of different store formats to the
you seem
network.
to have a bit of a suite of formats that you can
we do.
move
We
to.
do. For everything from 15 square metres up to 200 square metres, we've got a solution. And so that gives us flexibility and reach in terms of growing the brand in the market. And really the last aspect is driving network growth. And so, that's really about brand presence, market reach, ensuring that we've got the most efficient supply chain we can, to deliver the best cost structure we can across the business and to our franchise partners. And so we focus hard on those four aspects to the strategy. And then the other aspect is around, just resetting the culture or doubling down on our values. At Sushi, we talk about, our RICE values, so respect, innovation, collaboration, and execution. When I came into the
perfect out of the lines.
It's not bad, is it?
How
It's
did you
pretty
come
good.
up with that?
I know, right?
Yeah.
When I came into the role, our RICE values were actually respect, innovation, commitment, and execution. And I just
So what was it now? Sorry, culture.
Commitment's been changed to collaboration.
Collaboration, yeah.
And so with all the time that I've spent at the big end of town, and a lot of the work that we've done around culture and performance, there's a big learning that I've got around the importance of an egoless approach to business.
Oh, what's right? Egoless?
Egoless.
Oh, egoless. Yeah.
And so that's really about, people who put the business and the team ahead of themselves. Now that sounds obvious to say, but if you think about your daily interactions, it's amazing how often people don't quite or consistently meet that standard.
Yep. And it's just moments, isn't it?
It's moments.
Yeah.
But those moments get in the way of collaboration. Those moments get in the way of optimizing shared decision making. And so, if you put a systems lens over organizations, you quickly get to the point where you understand that the best decisions or the best answers sit between the functions. The functions need to come together to find that space and actually make the best decisions. So if people aren't adopting that egoless approach, that actually gets in the way of effective decision making, which ultimately gets in the way of performance.
So it's in essence of not having the best interests of the collaborative parties at heart.
Yeah, if somebody's in a meeting,
so more interested in themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to maximise what they think their impact or their personal brand is in that moment.
Yeah.
Well, that often gets in the way of the best idea.
Yeah.
Or the
creates
best
friction
decision.
in the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the ripple effects around that are significant, and it can often go unsaid, and organisationally and culturally, people just work around it or put up with it.
But they walk away thinking about it and maybe talking to someone else about it, don't they?
Well, they do.
Yeah.
But when you genuinely embrace that egoless philosophy, and when you're genuinely collaborating, it really does drive better decision making, and it really does drive performance.
So the business now, there's a lot happening in the business right now. So what does your day look like at the moment? What are your main focuses, and with your team and everything? What are you up to?
Look, there's a huge amount that we're up to. Almost every aspect of the business is continually being worked on, continually being enhanced. In terms of network momentum, our current run rate with stores, domestically is 25 a year.
Share about 170 odd, I think, at the moment.
Oh, we in the next few weeks we're going to be going through 190.
Wow!
And by the time we get to June next year, we'll be closer to 210.
Yep.
So there's great underlying growth with the Sushi Sushi brand in the Australian market. So sort of 25 stores a year is effectively sort of market leading from a QSR perspective.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work around our brand territory and our brand proposition. And we've run a national campaign recently with real food, ready to go proposition. It's really the most elevated marketing that's been undertaken in the sushi category in Australia thus far. It's a really great territory for us. It's multi-dimensional and it really talks to a number of brand truths for Sushi Sushi. We're expanding overseas. Last year we announced the signing of a master franchise agreement for the New Zealand market. 2 weeks ago, we announced the signing of a master franchise agreement in Saudi Arabia with a top 10 QSR operator in that market called the Kudu Group.
Yep.
Sushi Sushi is a fantastic health forward adjacency for the Kudu Group in the Saudi market. And really, there's no grab and go sushi in Saudi Arabia whatsoever.
So the concept doesn't exist, or
the Japanese cuisine is there. There's some high-end restaurants. There's some limited fast casual dining. Frankly, not at the same standard as our product offer in this market. And there's no grab and go whatsoever. So we're pretty confident that we'll be able to bring an elevated proposition to the Saudi Arabian market.
Yep.
And partnering with Kudu, they've got connectivity locally, obviously, as a top 10 operator in that market, they can move quickly, and so we're really excited about the market launch in the next month or two in Saudi Arabia. It's interesting on the back of that. There's a lot of inbound interest coming from other markets as well.
Look at other international interests.
Yeah. So I think the insight there is Sushi Sushi established the grab and go category in Australia 30 years ago, and introduced the hand roll into Australia. And there's a number of markets, large markets, high growth markets around the world that look like Australia 30 years ago in terms of the sushi category.
That must be exciting when you see that
really
opportunity.
Is. Yeah, it really is.
Is it a matter of like, now we've got to speed up to get there? Or have you got to deliberately let's hold back and make sure our entry is correct? So I can imagine a lot of brands get really excited when they see that opportunity.
Yeah, that's right.
And want to run.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think the key insight there is, we're putting time into this Saudi launch to make sure that's right. And on the way through, we've built out a lot of the DNA in terms of market launch processes and strategies and master franchising across the country. So we've built a lot of DNA, which is now scalable in other settings.
Yep.
So yes, it can speed up. Part of the question also, it's been announced that the business is Sushi Sushi is going through a sale process. So
that was the next question I was going to ask. But
yeah,
you've got to it. Good.
No, that's okay. You can get into that in a minute.
Good. No, I was glad you've brought it up first. Go for it.
Subject to how that process evolves, might inform the mode of market entry in certain countries. And so we'll wait and see how that process.
Yeah,
plays out.
So I suppose in some instances that can sometimes put a pause on things, can't it? Because you've got to wait for some things to play out. Is that how those sort of things work? Because there are some uncertainties when it comes to that, isn't there, about what that looks like?
Look, I would say 95% of what we're doing, it's full steam ahead. Our strategy's right. We've got great momentum. We continue to lean into that every day.
Yeah.
Probably the only issue that we're just temporarily pausing on at the moment is just working through the international expansion. Pending understanding who the next owner of Sushi Sushi is. But having said that, there's plenty of work underway with the current market launch. So
it's already under. It's already. Don't worry, it's already undergo. Yeah. So how long do you see that playing out? So what does that look like for you in the business and your day-to-day stuff? Is that what you spend a lot of time on, I'd imagine, as CEO? How does that work?
Look, certainly.
For those who don't know, I mean, people would be very
separate. Working through a sale process, there is a demand of time involved. Particularly for me and one or two other members of the management team. But we work with our advisors and we keep the impacts across the rest of the management team and the broader business to a minimum.
Yeah.
Momentum's key, so we want to make sure that there's no impact on
momentum's everything.
Momentum is everything, that there's no impact on the broader business by virtue of the sale process. But certainly there's certainly demand on my time, but that just goes with the territory.
Yeah, of course. So what does the future look like from your end? So as we wrap it up, I always like to ask this question to finish off. Crystal balling, 3 to 5 years time, what do you see for yourself in the Sushi brand? What does success look like is always a good question, or things going well?
Oh, look, in 5 years' time, domestically, we'll be a brand and a business, approaching 400 stores. We'll have an international footprint across multiple countries, and we are the category leading platform in Australia, and we'll just accelerate that advantage over that 5-year period.
Great way to finish. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks so much for joining us, mate. Much appreciated.
Pleasure, Glenn. Terrific. Thanks, mate.
And that's it for another one of the Franchise Everything podcast. Hope you really enjoyed that and got some high-level stuff out of that one. We'll catch you in the next one soon.